Hey there neighbors, Kevin here with eTrailer, and today we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the REDARC Tow-Pro Liberty Trailer Brake Controller here on our 2020 Entegra Coach Odyssey Class C motorhome. So our neighbor today recently purchased this Class C motorhome, and he also is a motorcycle enthusiast, so he wants to be able to haul around his motorcycles with him anytime he's going out to different areas. So having the ability to pull a trailer behind him is a must-have, and a trailer brake controller is going to be a requirement for that. And he's got a lot of options when it comes to brake controllers, but there's one clear winner here, and that is going to be our REDARC Tow-Pro Liberty, because it's going to give him a nice simple little button and have everything else hidden under the dash, so that way there's nothing for him to knock his knees on. And with this motorhome being kind of a tight fit, especially with how the seat is, I mean, we're sitting 90 degrees here. There's not really a lot of room in here. I don't want to hit my knee on something. So having this built right into the dash with such a small little knob that's easily accessible right next to the wheel. So if we are in those emergency situations where maybe a trailer starts fishtailing behind us and we need to hit the manual override, it's right here, just inches from the steering wheel. Overall, this is super simple install. It shouldn't take you more than maybe an hour. The big thing here is just finding the location for it to fit. Finding the plug, and that's really it. So just kind of get in here, maybe pull out a couple dash pieces. This one down below is real simple to pull out, and then also pull out your dog house. It makes it a lot easier to get it in here, get your hands in. I could get my hand down in here and one hand up from the inside under the dog house once it was out of the way. Made it so simple to do and pass my wiring through. So definitely check that out before you start making any holes. Don't drill into anything until you've definitely made sure that you actually have the space for it to fit. Now, speaking to that, if this is something where you're just not super comfortable drilling into your dash, or maybe you don't want to pop things out, or maybe you just don't have the time to get it all done and you got a trip coming up. If that's the case for you, feel free to use our dealer locator, and you can enter in your zip code to find a shop near you and get it professionally installed. If you are wanting to do this yourself, then stick around and I'll help walk you through the process. Now, to begin our installation, it's going to be a little bit different today just because our neighbor already got into here and was kind of looking around and determining where he wanted things, and he already found the plug for us, which, since this is a Ford chassis, it's usually hidden right behind the stereo, and you can see it right here. This is what we are looking for. It's this little gray and red plug, and that's going to match up to a harness that we're picking from a Tekonsha brake controller, because we're going to cut off that Tekonsha connector and just splice it right into the universal harness that's going to come with our REDARC here. This is going to be able to come down to here, and we've got 3 spots picked out. I've done a little bit of looking behind here, and it looks like the 1 and 3 that they've picked out as possible locations for our little control knob. Unfortunately, you just have a second set of plastic behind the dash here, so we'd have to completely take the dash apart to fully get in there and see if there is even enough space for those 2 locations. But for location number 2, right down here, it's wide open. So I can easily get my hand in there. I think I can actually get it from here too, and feel behind there and make sure that there's not something there that's going to prevent us from getting that controller in, because it's about 3 inches in length, especially when you add in the Ethernet cable that runs between that and our control module. So what you'll want to do for sure at home, you'll need to pop out this little pocket right here, or if you have something else that's hooked into that. I think in our case, this was just a little storage spot for him, so he just took the whole cubby right out, just using a plastic trim panel tool. You can see the little locations where those tabs would be clicking into it, so if you kind of pry in right at that spot with your trim panel tool, it should make it a lot easier to get it to pop out. You can get access to that plug, and then we can start routing the wiring through. And just because we're using these locations doesn't mean that it's always going to be the same in your model. So definitely get under there and just take a quick glance. Make sure that you are making sure that there's nothing that you might potentially drill into, or something, like I said, that would obstruct the controller. Now, the other half of this is mounting up the module here, and there's not a lot under here that we can really tie onto, just because there's a lot of moving components down here. Now, there is one beam or bracket that kind of runs across here. You can see it's this just like aluminum. What we're going to do is that kind of matches up perfectly with the mounting holes that are on the bracket of the module. So I'm going to run some zip ties through that, and then run it through our bracket here and zip tie it right to it, right at this location, right behind the OBD2 sensor. So when we get to that point, I'll have that in, and then you guys can actually see it a little bit better. Now I'm going to get my harness ready. This is what I was talking about. This is for a Tekonsha one. You can see just by that connector right there. But with this being a brake controller, it's all color coded, and this is something where you can actually trust it, because a lot of other things, people will mix and match colors and not really tell you what they're for. In this one, the black is going to be our power, so we need 12 volt power to that one. The red is for our brake light switch, so whenever that signal goes from the depressing the brake pedal, white is our ground. And then blue is just our brake output, so whenever we activate the brake controller, the power that it sends out to our 7-way. Now, that's going to be the same with the universal harness that we have from REDARC, so we can easily just butt connector these together. And they already stripped back the casing for you on this one, but I'll need to do that on our other one since I cut off the connector. So once you get that ready, you can twist it up, throw on your butt connector, and crimp it down. I'll get all 4 of these on, and then we can grab our other harness and start connecting it. Alright, when you get all those together, make sure you give them a good tug. Nothing's going to come loose. I'd rather have it come loose right now and I just cut it and redo it versus it doing that while we're going down the road. But now that we have this ready, I'm going to go back over and we will start running this through our dash. Alright, so I'm going to try and reach my hand up from the bottom. Pretty easy once you have the doghouse out too. And it's really not much of a distance here. Pull that down. Now there is a opening in the metal, like framing here. It's a little bit easier to see from below. But I'm going to try to route this through just so I don't want anything getting pinched, or like if we have to pull the doghouse in and out, I don't want this anywhere near it, so that way you never have to worry about it then. And we might have something that clips in here, so I'll probably route over it, but just because we don't have that little cubby or whatever was in here, it's a little bit harder to tell exactly what else I need to route around. If anything, smarter option here is to follow whatever harness is there. So if I just follow that harness, it's kind of sitting down right in here. So I might just zip tie straight to that, then we don't ever have to worry about it being an issue. But I will probably push this down a little bit because I think our neighbor pushed it out way further than it was before, and the cubby's obviously going to hit that. So we'll go ahead, we'll just connect these. Here, click in. I'm going to push that back. It doesn't look like it can go very much just because we got another wire coming up to it, and it's very short. But we'll get that back a little bit more so it's out of the way. I'll grab a zip tie. We'll tie it right to the harness here so it's out of the way there, and then we can get down below. All right, we've got a module zip tied up to that bracket that's running behind the OBD2 sensor. There's also the harness. I've plugged that in. Now it's time to get our controller, and I'm gonna go with option 2 here. Now I'm gonna go a little bit higher than what they have that tape at, just because there's something right in this area right here, kind of low. So I want to kind of avoid that. I'm going to stay up just above it. I can get my hand behind here and I can feel plenty of wide open space. So I'm going to go literally just right above this. Use my center punch, get a nice indentation for me to drill through with. And then I'm going to drill out first. I have my 3/8 hole above that actually. I might go a little bit higher. So we got a 3/8 hole and a 1/8 hole that we're going to be drilling, and that's going to be for our light. So here's the little control knob that we're going to have. We need to have this come through, and you almost have to have it just like right on the edge of that 3/8 hole, so that way the little plastic that's on here can actually fit through it and still match up. So you almost kind of bleed that top hole into the bottom hole. So I think I might go just a tiny bit higher. That's like where I just did that center punch is great for my 3/8 hole. But I kind of want to have that other one just a bit higher. So I'm going to go up for about 1/2 inch. Right there. And we'll drill that out. All right, now I'm going to switch over to my 3/8 drill bit. And one thing I'm going to do too, since there's plastic housing that runs between these, is just open the 2 holes up to each other. So that way the plastic housing can come through it. All right, so even with using that 3/8 drill bit and that 1/8 inch drill bit for the light, I have put the drill in there a little bit more, just kind of took a little bit more off, just trimmed a little bit more off the sides to give us a little bit more wiggle room. You can kind of play around with the little ring that goes here. There's a little part that sticks out, which is now just popped into that hole that I put on there. But if I flip it around, you can see it's got a portion that sticks out, and that is going to fit right into that hole. So even though they say to drill an 1/8 inch hole, you need it a tiny bit bigger, like a hair bigger, just because you got to fit that through it. Then once you get that on, you can also use the nut that we're going to use to actually tighten this down with to make sure that you've got enough room for that as well. I did have to sit here and kind of trim a little bit more off just to get this to fit through it. Now the other thing with this is to be super careful not to over tighten it. As you can see, the threads that we have are just those little ones down inside of the control knob here. So it's real easy to strip those out if you just sit there and crank on it. Just take your time, be careful. You don't want to get too tight on it and then strip the threads out. And then also, if you're getting to a point where you feel like you're tightening it up, but then you reach and kind of pull back on it and just slips right off, then the thickness of your dash is a little bit too much and you need to kind of grind that off. I usually use a burr bit or like a Dremel tool or something like that, so that way you can kind of grind it down and get the plastic to the right thickness. But in our case, I've already tested it and it fit, so we're going to keep rolling. Pop that in, turn that just a bit, and then I've got a 12mm wrench. I'm just going to go until it feels snug. I'm not torquing this or going too crazy with it. And I'm also, like on the back side, I can kind of pull on it and tell that I am actually threading in. So that's kind of what I was going back to about the dash being too thick. Okay, so I can also tell that I'm going too tight now because the little gray plastic top part of this is starting to bulge out. So that tells me I'm pinching down on it and it's fighting against the dash. So I know I'm nice and snug here, and on the back I can't wiggle it at all. So we know that's good. All right, we're gonna put our control knob on too. I've turned the dial all the way to the right. That should be 10 on our gain. And if we went all the way to the left, 0. And I'll put that right in the center for now, but grab our cable. Now they give you a straight and a 90-degree bend, and most of the time it works out perfect because one of the two areas, wherever you're mounting the module and then the control knob, you always need a 90 for at least one of them. So in our case, I think I'm going to use the 90 down at the control knob, run it up more, and then have it go onto there with the straight. But I also need to kind of see where I have my inlet, depending on if anything's going to be blocking that. So I'm going to get down there again, I'm going to look at that, and then it's literally just routing it up. And I mean, you can see where I got the control module from here. We're maybe 6 inches away from the knob. All right, so the 90-degree bend works perfect for the control module. And then I'm going to route it this right through this frame piece up along right where we had our harness to the factory plug. Okay, now we have our cable ran between our control knob and our module. I've also zip tied it up down below here. You can see it all kind of wound together and zip tied. That's going to be held up, hidden behind our dash. Now I did have to put a load on here. So we have a test box plugged into the 7-way. Because this is a factory connection, we're going with that factory harness. It is looking for some kind of load in order to tell itself to turn on and send power over to our brake controller. So if you have nothing plugged into the 7-way, nothing's gonna pop up for you until you do actually put something in there. So like I said, we threw the test box in there. At this point, it's blinking blue and green, and that's because there's an inertia sensor built into the control module. And what that does is senses deceleration, and then it's gonna proportionately send back enough voltage to match your braking speed with the vehicle. So that way the trailer is matching and not overdoing it, and then you don't have to play that game of messing with the gain as much. So at this point, I'm gonna close everything back up. We're gonna go test drive this, because literally to get this configured, all you have to do is just drive around, hit the brakes a couple times. I typically try to get up to like 25, 35 miles per hour, hit the brakes, and honestly, maybe 4 or 5 times, and usually this thing will just instantly connect. Sometimes it even connects before you can even get over to the spot to brake. So this one's super easy. So we're just gonna get all cleaned up. So after driving around in the parking lot for just a few minutes, it synced up and is all ready to go for our neighbor. So all he has to do is just hook up to his trailer, plug in his wiring, and he's gonna be all good to go and have those electric brakes actuate anytime he steps on the brake pedal inside of his motorhome. So with all that being said, that is gonna do it for our look at and installation of the REDARC Tow-Pro Liberty Trailer Brake Controller. My name's Kevin, and if you still have some questions about what's going to be the right brake controller for your motorhome, or you just need help with the installation, please feel free to reach out to us via our Ask the Experts link, a comment on this video, or a phone call to our customer service department, and we'd be happy to help you out on your journey.